Hi, my name is Natalie Nicholson. I'm also known as Shan. Before my tragedy, I lived a normal life in South Africa. I became a quadruple amputee due to septicemia. I was in a coma for nearly 2 weeks in early 2017. While I was in the coma, my hands, feet, nose and lips died, and I was told I needed to have my hands and feet amputated. To date, I've had 66 surgeries, with approximately 20 more to go, to reconstruct my jaw, mouth and nose. I have remained positive through all of this and believe that can't is not a word, and that you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. This show is to motivate and inspire others through my story as well as my guest story. Welcome to my show. Today my guest does not show her scars on the outside, but bears her scars on the inside, and she's very close to me. It's my cousin, Natalie. Welcome to the show, Nats. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Shan?
I'm very well, thanks. Can you tell us a bit about how your childhood years were?
Okay, well, I was quite badly bullied when I moved to Joburg from Durban, and my parents did the best they could, and basically no matter what they did and no matter what school I went to, I was always the bullied child. And the sad thing about that is that when you've been bullied as a child, it kind of goes into your young adult years. And because of that, my confidence was low, my self-esteem was low. So even though it was problems in my younger years, it kind of went into my early adult years as well.
And it carried on. Now, how exactly did you get diagnosed? Did you have to go to psychologists, or what were the signs that your parents realized that something needs to be done now?
Well, I was a very difficult teenager because obviously everything I was going through at school, I lashed out to my parents. I was slamming doors, I was being the normal typical teenage girl, but far worse, and I was constantly suicidal. I would battle with things like people could do day to day, and I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to, had no motivation to do anything. And I think that's when they realized that something needed to be done. So we went to a couple of psychologists over the years. Fortunately, none of them stuck. I was diagnosed, I think, at 15 with depression. And yeah.
When was your first suicidal attempt?
My first suicidal attempt, well, I went through it throughout the bullying, you know. At about 18, I think I had my first ever suicidal attempt where I took tablets, but I took all the tablets that I could find and I ended up in hospital, and then they took me to Crescent Clinic. So from there, I was in a psychiatric hospital for about 3 weeks.
Did you find that being in the psychiatric hospital and the information they gave you and how they tried to treat you, did you find that helped you at all?
You know, I don't. For the simple fact that I felt like they didn't understand where I was coming from, that I was just a teenager lashing out, and I was just a teenager that didn't know what she wanted and where she was going, which is probably very true. I didn't know where I was going or what I wanted. But I didn't feel like anybody was on my side. I didn't feel like anyone understood what I was doing, and I kind of felt that throughout my life that no one was there for me. And I know my parents tried to be there for me and my family, and they did the best that they could. But at the end of the day, I felt alone. And I think that feeling of alone is what led me to feel suicidal.
You felt like your voice wasn't being heard.
Exactly.
Now, do you find in today's age, children are able to express more how they're feeling, that the awareness for mental illness and suicidal attempts, especially with younger children, do you think it's being made more aware with people?
I think social media has made it people more aware of what's going on. My only concern is that some people seem to just label everything as well, that's why you need a professional. And as I'm glad that more people are being made aware of it. My biggest concern though is that the stigmatism that's attached to it. It's a huge stigmatism to say, I've got depression or I've got bipolar or, you know, anxiety. And for other people, it's become like a household name, you know, yes, where you might have a bad day or whatever, and then they say, oh, I've got depression.
Yeah.
You see, I don't think there's enough balance in it, that people are more aware, yes, but I don't think enough people are actually, you know, really talking about the dangers and what really goes on. They just kind of see it as the popular thing to do right now.
I know our family has tried to be as supportive, but in your perspective, did they support you enough through everything?
I think they supported me the best way they knew how. And that is the biggest thing, that my family did everything they thought they could do to help. But that is the reason why growing up and after I left school and things, I've dedicated my life to helping others with the bullying. And I think that by going the right way around it, you can be more help than just trying to do anything just to make the person feel better. You're not going to be able to make the person feel better. They have to be able to do that themselves.
Now, I know that a lot of people don't understand depression. Amongst the older generation, they don't realize or understand it and think, just get over it. Why are you not happy? What's wrong with you? What advice would you give a younger person, or anybody for that matter of fact, when they want to come out and express exactly what's going on with them or how they're feeling, to get the other person to understand what they're going through?
Well, one of the biggest things you need to do is be able to find someone you trust and somebody who you do feel will understand. Like, for example, if my parents didn't understand and I went to them, they would never be able to support me because they don't believe it exists. A lot of, as you say, the older generation don't believe that depression or these other psychological issues actually exist. And just being made aware of it is what's important, and being made aware of what's happening and know the symptoms, know what's going on out there, be aware of it. So I think the best advice I can give to anyone is, if you're feeling that way, talk to someone you love, somebody who you know will support you, and then go and see a health professional.
Do you think that social media and the quick way of living nowadays plays a big role in what's going on?
Oh yes, especially when it comes to bullying, because it doesn't just happen at school anymore. It comes home with you. So with everything in life, all the stresses and things like that we have, it doesn't go away because it just comes home. Social media, it just comes home with you. So work stresses. And all of these things lead to depression. What we see on the TV with social media and all these news broadcasts, these interfere with our mental health, and we're seeing it a day-to-day basis, all day, every day.
That's scary. It's really scary. What are you doing with your life at the moment, Nat?
Well, I have dedicated my life to help other people who have suffered the same trauma as I have. I really believe in helping kids who are feeling the same way as I did feel, and just getting them the support they need, the confidence, the self-worth back. As soon as you've got your self-worth back, the depression doesn't seem so bad. That getting out of bed every day and getting the motivation you need to survive doesn't feel so bad if you have confidence and self-worth in yourself.
Yes. Now, your last suicide attempt, which was a couple of years ago, I know, because we're such a close family, that something changed your outlook on life, changed the way you thought. What happened and exactly what you went through, and then tell us what was it that changed your mind on wanting to commit suicide and change your outlook on everything.
So basically what happened, it was going through a couple of months now that I just felt down and down and down, and no matter what I did, I could not feel better. I just felt like I had no purpose in life, that I had no direction, and there was no reason for me to be here anymore.
Were you still on medication at that stage?
I was, and I was seeing a psychologist every week, and it still wasn't working. Nothing I was trying was working. And I went back to a psychiatrist over and over again, and he just doubled my medication, thinking that would change me and be better. And it just made me feel more of a black hole.
And you didn't realize that what you were going into?
No, well, you'd pay these doctors how much for 20 minutes, and he was just going more and more. Medication
is going to make you better.
Exactly. And the one night I just felt completely fed up. I just didn't know. I didn't want to take more medication. I didn't want to have to deal with the black in the morning. I didn't want to deal with that feeling of not feeling worthy, I had enough. And so I took on because now the doctors prescribed me a lot of medication. So I just took it all. And
oh my word.
Everything. And then the next morning, my dad, I don't remember anything. So this is what I've been told, obviously. The next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. And that was 2 or 3 days afterwards. My dad had heard me have a seizure. And I had the seizure against the door. So I was banging the door with the seizure, obviously from the medication. And he then obviously took me to the hospital, and I woke up 3 days later. I couldn't move my arms, I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't speak properly, my throat was so sore, and I had had pneumonia apparently. I was very weak, I didn't know what was going on around me, so I wasn't very coherent. That was the first day that I remember.
And you were in a coma as well? They put you in a coma?
Yeah, well, I don't remember. This is only what I remember. That's what I've been told, that I was very weak. I couldn't move. And I was screaming. I remember like trying to get out and saying I want out, but the doctors and the nurses were saying, calm down, calm down. Then I was released about a week later, I think, about that. And still couldn't move my arms. I couldn't walk properly. My chest was still very bad, and they would do physio on my back to try and get the phlegm out. Yeah. So I really put everyone through an absolute nightmare, as well as my body and my mind. I mean, after that, I was completely a different person. I woke up and I just thought to myself, I need to actually make something of myself now. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change people's lives one person at a time who have gone through what I've been through and felt the same way. Yes. But I had to know what it was first that could change. You
had to hit rock bottom before you could change your life around.
Exactly.
Now, I remember you said just now that you're trying to help people and trying to motivate them and make awareness of mental issues, mental health. How exactly have you got a business going? If anybody wants to get in contact with you, if they're needing help, how can they reach out to you?
Okay, so what I do is I like to help women who have been bullied. I mean, that is my niche. I'm a life coach now for Move On, Stay Strong Life Coaching. And I really just want to teach people how to be confident, to show their self-worth. Obviously, I'm not a psychologist, but I have studied psychology.
And you've gone through it.
And so I went through it myself, and I made myself came out the other side a better, more strong person. And I really do believe that I had to hit rock bottom, as you said, before I could get there.
That's amazing. I know as a family, it's also just brought us closer and closer, and I'm so glad that you're still around. I love you so much.
I love you too, Shan.
In this show, we like to give our guests a word, and we'd like you to elaborate and explain the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. And the word today is rebirth. Now, for me, I know when I was in a coma and I came out, I feel like I came out a stronger person than I was before. I feel like now, not physically, but mentally, I'm the person I was always supposed to be. What do you think of when you hear the word rebirth?
I think of my transformation from the moment that I realized that I am supposed to be here, and that moment that I realized I can use what I've been through to help other people. I do believe I went through what I went through for a reason, to help others, because I felt alone, and I can say that they are not alone. They are not the only person that's gone through it, and I think that in itself is relief.
That's awesome. Nat, I'd like to thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story with us and trying to help everybody become aware and that they have somebody to turn to if they need help. To all the viewers out there, I'd like you to know that it doesn't matter if your scars are on the inside and not on the outside for everybody to see. You need to take ownership of yourself and be strong enough to reach out and ask for help. Until next time, take care of yourself.